straight after a conversation with the US President Donald Trump. And during that conversation, as I already mentioned, a number of European leaders were also engaged there. Zelensky made a couple of statements, and for example, he shut down talk of neutrality of Ukraine, neutrality for peace, after asked by Turkish reporter. He spoke with journalists, and Turkish reporter asked about neutrality for peace formula, and he shut down this talk conversation straight away. We have a couple of quotes here. So Ukraine already has a status, Zelensky said, and this status of Ukraine is written in the constitution. And by the way, Kiev hardwired NATO aspirations into a law in 2019 in the constitution. So therefore, right now, neutrality is a sort of unconstitutional. If anyone will push for neutrality, then that will be unconstitutional idea. So Ukraine have to work through its own constitution. Basically, Ukraine has to make some changes and go back basically to previous iteration of constitution in which Ukraine was mentioned as a neutral state. But right now, straight after talks with the US President, Zelensky went to journalists to say that he is not even considering neutrality for peace formula, and he is still pushing for NATO. And this is not all, by the way. Zelensky also went to say that Kiev does not intend to withdraw troops from DPR, Zaporozhye, and Kherson regions. And as we know, Russian demand is quite clear. All new Russian regions have to be free from enemy forces. So Zelensky clearly is kind of openly entering a conflict with White House. I think that's what is happening. Because this messages was not really for Moscow, I think, from Zelensky. These messages from him and from the globalists. I'm quite sure he was, consulted by his globalist masters. These messages are directed for Washington, first of all. So let's go through this news here. Ukraine does not intend to withdraw troops from their territories of the DPR, Kherson and Zaporozhye region under its control. This was announced by Vladimir Zelensky following a phone conversation with US President Donald Trump at the briefing broadcasted by his office. We have a couple of quotes here. "No one will withdraw our troops from our territories," he said. "No ultimatums. If Russia sets conditions for the withdrawal of our troops, it means they do not want ceasefire," he added. Wow, what a genius. Russia don't want ceasefire. Russia wants end of conflict. Russia wants root causes of this crisis to be addressed and sustainable peace to be reached. Russia never said that it's interested in some temporary solutions, especially in this 30-day ceasefire that globalists and globalist-controlled regimes in Europe are pushing so hard for how many weeks now, because Moscow knows perfectly well, and everybody knows, that globalists are desperate to achieve a break for their proxies in Kiev, right? Because they know Kiev regime's stance are weaker and weaker, and most importantly, Kiev regime's forces are in desperately need of break. That's what is going on. So of course Moscow will not give her this break to enemy forces. No way, right? And never promised to do so. But yet again, these statements, one should keep in mind that these statements from Zelensky that Ukraine will continue to pursue its aspiration to join NATO, and Ukraine will not withdraw, not compromise basically on during the negotiations with Russia. That's exactly what the statement of Zelensky means, that they will not withdraw troops from new Russian regions then. These messages are directed, first of all, for Washington. Meanwhile, dear friends, I did spoke about this news yesterday during the evening live stream, evening news update. But I think it is important in the context of all the news that I just went through, that Russia in Ukraine talks follows the principles set forward by the Russian president in 2024. So Russia in talks on Ukrainian settlement follows the position as set forward by the Russian President Vladimir Putin in June 2024. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said in a comments on the outcome of the meeting in Turkey. And obviously, this comment also came as a response on Russia, on talks of presidents of two countries. We can find some parallels there, some connections, and also we can address this news on statements from the West, right? So the position of our country was clearly articulated. What the hell is this advertisement? Let's shut it down. Okay. So Russia, sorry, dear friends, I cannot work out how to block all the advertising on these platforms that I'm opening. But anyways, let's continue. The position of our country was clearly articulated by Russian President Vladimir Putin on June 14, 2024. Look at how our country's systematic, principle, and logical manner has been acting in line with these guidelines. She told the reporters on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Legal Forum. According to diplomat, Moscow is showing a responsible position based on international law, the interests of the country, and the stability and security of the entire region. The spokeswoman said the Kiev regime, on the other hand, has often changed its position. It was evident even from the recent Istanbul talks alone. One thing in the morning and another in the evening, and still another the next morning. And it is like that all the time, Zakharova said. And of course, she was reiterating the behavior of Zelensky and his representatives in Turkey a few days ago, when eventually talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations did happen. We all remember that one day Zelensky was acting crazy, as he does quite often. He was criticizing Russian delegation and so on. He basically almost refused to agree on any talks to send delegation. But at evening time, he said that yes, delegation will came. Next day, next morning, he said something different, and eventually Ukrainian delegation came. And you tell me, dear friends, how are you gonna deal with their people like that when they might change their stance, not just on daily basis, but on hour basis? I mean, it's almost, impossible, isn't it, to have some meaningful talks with such elements, isn't it? And Maria Zakharova is clearly highlighting that. But most importantly, in this statement, Maria Zakharova is saying that Russian stance did not change even a bit. Russian president in June 2024, when he was meeting with the leadership of Russian Foreign Ministry, highlighted points and on which ceasefire can be reached, for example, and this position is still the same. I give you some details as a reminder, dear friends, that Putin in June 2024 named the conditions for talks with Ukraine, which include the withdrawal of Ukrainian troops from the Donbass and Novorossiya, that is DPR, LPR, Kherson and Zaporozhye regions, and end to Kiev's aspiration to join NATO. Zelensky is refusing to do any of it, right? And he refused once again yesterday, straight after a conversation with Trump. So he is not about the escalation, by the way. No, because his globalist masters are not about the escalation currently. They might change mind soon when Russia will have no option but to move forward and achieve more progress on the ground in zone of special military operation. Eventually, globalists will come to the terms and they will acknowledge necessity that they have to face reality and start de-escalating. But now they are not ready for that. And Zelensky is their spokesperson, basically, right? But anyways, the Russian president outlined that no NATO aspirations, also lifting all Western sanctions against Moscow, illegal sanctions, I cannot, because these sanctions are illegal, and Ukraine's commitment to uphold the non-aligned and nuclear-free status and fully respect the rights, freedoms, and interests of its Russian-speaking citizens. This was outlined, this demands was outlined by Russian president in 2024, and nothing has changed since then. Russian position is still the same, and I don't know how many times Russian leaders are going to repeat this same stuff over and over and over again. I mean, this is basics. This is just a baseline. This has to be done, then we can continue with the escalation. Dear friends, if you like my work, please help me to maintain and basically save this independent media project. You can assist through several ways. You can buy me coffee through Coffee platform, or donate through PayPal and Boosty platforms, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page or on page that I have on the Boosty. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment, including crypto address. Many thanks to everyone who already helped. Truly grateful.